One of the most impressive features on Belle Isle is the James Scott Memorial Fountain, overlooking the waterfront view of downtown Detroit. So who is this man who looks like the Monopoly guy? And why is his statue on Belle Isle?
By all reports, James Scott wasn't a very nice guy.
He was a playboy, his father was wealthy, and he liked to gamble and drink. Well, he was basically in real estate. I mean, his father had invested a lot of money in Detroit real estate at a time when it was growing. So he didn't have to work, so he was kind of a man about town.
He didn't have many friends. He made his waves by throwing money around. When he wanted to get something done, he seldom asked nicely. He usually started by suing people, and therefore was not invited to join most clubs, not very welcomed in most public circles. When he died, he had no children, he had no wife, he had no friends. He left this money to the city, and frankly, the city fathers didn't want his money, mostly because he insisted that if the city took the money, they had to put a statue of him there. It sat in the bank for years while the city council went back and forth on it. Of course, as it sat in the bank, the money grew. Eventually, it was over $1 million.
Well, it eventually came down to a vote in the city council. And they said basically that, we shouldn't let his reputation get in the way of creating something that would be a benefit to the citizens.
He really got the prime spot. You can see it as soon as you get off of the bridge. That area over there originally was kind of the swimming beach, so that was one of the most popular areas on the island.
One of the requirements of the legacy was that they had to have a life-size statue of Mr. Scott. And of course, they put the statue in the back of the fountain where nobody would see it. If you look at a photograph of it from the air, it looks like a roulette wheel. so it's kind of appropriate.
They got some of the best people in the country to design the fountain. Cass Gilbert, a New York architect, who designed the Supreme Court building in New York, who designed the library here in the city of Detroit, designed a beautiful fountain, massive marble, gorgeous fountain.
And still the Scott Fountain is still one of the most beautiful in the country, I would say.
And of course, then they had to get somebody to put up the statue of him, and they built a nice statue of him looking over his beloved city, even though the city didn't really beloved him.
No matter what you may think of James Scott, his largest and final act is still standing. The Scott Memorial Fountain still welcomes the thousands of people visiting the island.